Okay, so here's the pool. 24 foot above ground, obviously. A leaf that must have just gotten in there somehow. The vacuum is working its magic. And we're about to go ahead and test the water. I'll usually go ahead and get my water sample from the return, so let's go ahead and yahoo! Just get a whole rinse of it in there, and then I go ahead and fill everything up. And there we go. We're going to go ahead and bring that on in, get it tested. This here is the testing equipment that I use, except for the temperature, obviously. I have that little thing floating in the pool which shows me what the temperature is, and that's pretty much about it. I mean, everything else I need to test is going to be taken care of with this equipment, and these chemicals right here will demonstrate each. So there are seven tests that I generally like to track the results of, and these tests are going to be for free chlorine, combined chlorines or chloramines, calcium hardness, total alkalinity, the CYA, which is the cyanuric acid stabilizer, pH, and temperature of the pool. So we're going to start off with the chlorine. You test for chlorine, the free chlorine and the combined chlorines at the same time. I usually use a separate vial for the chlorine, just so it doesn't interfere with any of the results from the other tests. So what I usually do is just take some of the water from the pool and just kind of rinse the vial with it. And then when we test for the chlorine, we're going to add 10 milliliters of pool water. Don't know how well you can see this. So 10 milliliters of pool water. And I have this little fancy dancy speedster from Taylor. All of these chemicals are available from Taylor. You can probably get some of them at your local store. That, or I think you can just go on, I think it's taylortechnologies.com. Not sure which it is. Anyhow, so what I'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and put that little tablet. It's a magnetic tablet. As you can see, when I turn it on, it just literally starts spinning that thing. So I have a constant mix. What I'm going to do, okay, we're going to add a small heaping spoonful of this DPD powder, R0870. Going to add some of that to this water. Now, if it turns pink at all, that means you have chlorine in your pool. Okay, so now the question is, how much does it take of this titrating reagent to get this to clear up? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we will add drops slowly until this clears up to clear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's still a haze pink. 7. So 7 drops of the R0871 titrating reagent gets me back to clear. For each one of those drops, you're adding, if you will, you have, sorry, I don't talk very well in real life anyway, but so for each drop of this reagent, that represents 1/2 a part per million of chlorine. So we just added 7 drops, so that means 7 times 1/2. That means that in my pool right now, the chlorine level is 3.5 parts per million. To test for combined chlorines, what we do is we use this R0003 DPD reagent. We add 5 drops. If we add 5 drops and it stays clear, then you either have no combined chlorine, which is a good thing, or you have, the level is just too low to detect. So let's go ahead and add those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you can see, it stays clear. If it were to turn pink, then we would put this stuff back in and do the same exact test as we did for the free chlorine. We would put in 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. I think it was 4 drops, and it got back to clear again. That would mean that you have 2 parts per million of the combined chlorines, which would be a problem. I'll just go ahead real quick and show you the pH test here. This is fairly simple if you can follow directions. I mean, this is something you should be able to do straight out the box. As you can see, it's got 2 graded cylinders on it, or I guess square cylinders. Anyway, they both have various grades of color with various numbers on them. I really only use this just for the pH because you can see how I tested for the chlorine, which is what the yellow side is. Anyhow, so what we're going to do is we're going to fill this cylinder up to that little black line that you can see right by my fingernail. We'll go ahead and do that. Now, this might... Cool, there you go. And then, with that, we place 5 drops of our 0014 pH indicator solution, which is phenol red. Okay, 5 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we'll put the cover on that. Shake it gently. Actually, I just usually invert it like this. Okay, now this I'm going to have to probably take outside so I can actually compare the color of the water. It's hard to do that in indoor light, so I'll be back in just a second to check that, to discuss that. Okay, so after checking this out with by holding it up to outdoor light, it shows me that the color match is somewhere between 7.5, I don't know if you can see that, and 7.8. I usually like to try to keep my pool right around 7.6, just slightly alkaline. So, with it being right between the two, I figure 7.6 or 7.7, it's certainly within range. I'm happy with it. On to the next test. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and check calcium. Sorry, not calcium hardness, but total alkalinity. Anyway, using a different vial, the chlorine vial is over there. I'm going to go ahead and fill this little bad boy up to 25 milliliters, but first I'm going to go ahead, like I said, and just rinse it up. Make sure that it's reasonably clean, that there's hopefully no residue from the previous tests. I'm going to go ahead and fill this up to 25 milliliters. I may have to just take this out of the field of view for a second just to make sure. Yep, it's 25 milliliters. Okay, I also go ahead and I rinse off the tablet. Usually I put that in the vial when I'm doing that. But anyway, so same tablet, it's okay. We go ahead, drop that in, and start stirring away. Now, there are 3 chemicals that we use for this. Okay, the first says thiosulfate N10. That's R0007 from Taylor Catalog. This guy here is R0008, total alkalinity indicator, and then sulfuric acid 0.12 normal. That's R0009. So they're all in order in their catalog, so 7, 8, and 9. So for this test, we'll go ahead and we will add 2 drops of the R0007. So 1, 2. I'm going to go ahead and add 5 drops of the total alkalinity indicator, which is green. It's kind of funny. It's like, well, it's going to turn green. Well, I would think so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're good there. Now, what we'll do is we're going to add the sulfuric acid 0.12 normal to this until the solution turns red. For each drop, that represents, if you will, 10 points of total alkalinity. So if I get to red at 7 drops, it means my total alkalinity is 70. So let's go ahead and see where we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see it's kind of starting to turn here and there. It wants to. 6. Okay, it's just barely holding on there. 7. Okay, really turned red there for a second, but you can still see it's going back to green, so that's not a positive result. 8. That's barely titrated, so we'll go to one more, and it should pretty much go to red and stay there. So that's 9 drops. So 9 times 10, so my total alkalinity is 90. I'll go ahead, we'll rinse this out and get to the next test. Rinsing out for the calcium hardness test, which really for above ground pools with vinyl liners you don't really have to worry too much about, but I just still test for it anyway. Don't ask me why. So this is usually how I rinse with the tablet in there. This is just a whole bunch of the pool water. We'll go ahead, we'll dump it, get the tablet out of there. And for this test, we go to 10 milliliters. This is the same vial, by the way, as we did the alkalinity test in. The only one I separate is the chlorine. So that's 10 milliliters. Pop that on the mixer, drop the tablet, and off we go. Okay, so for this one, we've got our 10, which is calcium buffer. We have a calcium indicator liquid, R00111L, and then we have the hardness reagent, which is R0012. So for this test, we're going to go ahead and add 10 drops of R10 and 3 drops of R11L. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stop. That doesn't change the color of it any, but the calcium indicator will, because it's a deep blue. Okay, but actually with the calcium buffer, you should actually turn red. So we should put in, like I said, 3 drops. 1, 2, 3. So you can see I've got just a little bit of red in there. Nothing, earth-shattering. And then what we want to do is we want to add the R0012 hardness reagent, similar in titration to the last group, but instead of waiting for it to turn red, because it obviously is now, we're going to wait until it turns blue. Okay, so for each drop of the R0012, we are multiplying each of those by 25. So if this turns blue by, let's say, 8 drops, 8 times 25 means that my calcium hardness would be 200. So let's see where we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're getting there, but it's still red. 6. That looks pretty blue to me. That's a solid blue. So 6 drops times 25 means my calcium hardness is 150. Okay. The next couple of tests, well, one of them is just for temperature. I don't have to show you how to measure that, hopefully. I have a really neat thing where I have a thermometer in the pool that actually transmits wirelessly to a base station inside my house, so I can see what the temperature is without even leaving the house. Yeah, talk about lazy. But the one test that's probably going to be really difficult to show you is going to be the CYA, the stabilizer test. I'll try, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, so this test is going to be the most difficult, really, to demonstrate. As you can see here, I have a small bottle that has this is a 15 milliliter mark on it, which is basically half the volume of the bottle up to the shoulder, right here, sorry. I have the CYA reagent R0013, and I have this tube, which has a number of gradations on it, and it might be a little difficult to see, but you'll understand how this works in just a little bit. I'm going to do what I can to explain it. Then what we'll do is we'll see if we can get this test. I don't know if I can demonstrate it. Anyway, this tube, like I said, has a number of gradations on it, but if we look at it right down the barrel of the tube, you can see that there's a big black dot. So the idea in testing for your stabilizer is to fill this bottle half with pool water, the other half with this reagent, and then you shake it up and you wait about 30 seconds, because what it ultimately does is it winds up causing the water in the bottle here to cloud. Now, based on how cloudy this water is, putting the clouded water in this tube will cause you to lose sight of that black dot at a certain point. And basically, it's advised that you do this on a sunny day, that you hold this tube at about waist height. It can be a very difficult test to do without, it takes a little while to get the hang of it. But ultimately, what's going to happen is once the black dot inside the tube disappears to your sight, you read the level on the side of the tube. Again, I don't know if you can see it. You read the level on the side of the tube where the water has come up to, and that basically represents your CYA level. So we'll see if we can't give this a try. I'll go ahead. We'll put half the water in here. Not half the water, but we'll fill the water with we'll fill the bottle with half pool water. I'm under the weather right now, so it's a little difficult for me to talk. But like I said, it's usually difficult for me to talk. So we're at the 15 milliliter mark. I'll go ahead and fill it the rest of the way with the CYA reagent. And we just fill it up to the shoulder of this bottle. Right about there. Okay. Then we'll close it, close the cap, and give it a good shake. And I'll shake it for just a little bit. Then you're supposed to wait about 30 seconds, and we'll continue this video outside on a cloudy day. Okay, so now we're back outside, poolside, and I'll do what I can to demonstrate this for you. It might be difficult looking through the lens of a camera while trying to do this. So I'm holding this, and it's a cloudy day. You're supposed to do this on a sunny day where the sun is behind you and all that wonderful stuff. But anyway, we'll try to get this done here. So it's about waist height. I have my clouded water, the reagent with the pool water. Now, some of the issue with actually seeing this is because you're kind of, you're sort of occluding your view with the top of the bottle. That can be a little bit difficult, and when you start putting the water in. But you get the idea. You can see how when I keep adding water, that black dot at the bottom is disappearing from view. Now I'm going to go based on what I see here, not through the camera, because it's probably gone for you already, but it's not for me. Right about there. No, still see it. Right about there. So that's about where it disappears from my view. So if we pull the camera back up, and we look at the level of the water, you can see that it is right at about, it's between 40 and 50, closer to 50. I usually like to keep it right around 45, but anywhere between 40 and 50 is perfectly acceptable to me. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a happy test. And last but not least, again, the temperature. As you can see, it's currently reading 81.3 degrees Fahrenheit, and I can't recommend this little doodad enough. It does wirelessly transmit that information to a base station inside that room right there, so it's really kind of cool. It's ambient weather, manufactures it. I know a lot of people have problems with it, but I think it's just because they don't know how to set it up. It's never given me an issue. Anyway, that's the pool test regimen that I do. Hope this was helpful, and happy testing, and happy keeping your pool nice and blue.